In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can use donut charts to track KPIs and use them as gauges to tell you how close you are to hitting a target. So I'm going to use sales as an example. So I'm going to create some fields, one for an actual amount, one for a target, and let's say one for percentage of completion. And so I'm going to say, okay, we've got $10,000 in sales today. Our target is 50. Let's convert this to make it easier to read. And then convert that into a percentage. 10,000 divided by 50,000. So we're 20% of the way there. Now, the one thing I'm going to do, though, is create some additional categories. So I'll say if we're on target, if we're 90% of the way there, slightly under if we're 75%, and well under for anything else. And then also create a remainder field. And this is just for the purpose of the donut chart looking the way I want it to. So to fill this out, to fill these fields out, I need to create some if statements. So for on target, I'm going to say, okay, if the percentage is greater than 0.9, 90%, then take that value, otherwise leave it at 0. So we're not at 90%, so that's going to 0. For well under, I'm going to say, okay, if this value is less than 75%, 0.75, then return that amount, otherwise leave it 0. So in this case, at 20%, that's obviously less than 75%, so that value gets filled in. For the slightly under, I'm going to cheat a little bit and make this easy and just say, okay, if this is equal to 0 and this is equal to 0, then I know that whatever else has to fall into this bucket. So the same sort of logic. So the goal here is to make sure that my number falls into one of these buckets and not both at the same time. And for the remainder, I'm just going to take 100% minus these values, because the goal is I want it to add up to 100%. Okay, so now I've got these percentages. So let's test it out. So let's say if I change this to 25,000, I'm still well under at 50%, but that's correct. Let's say I get up to 35,000. I'm at 70%, so not quite in this category. Let's say I get up to 40,000. Now I'm at 80%. Now it's no longer in the well under, it's in the slightly under. If I get to, let's say, 47,000, now I'm in the on target area. So my calculations are working properly. So now the main thing is to just chart this out. So I'm going to go to Insert and select a donut chart. And so what I'm going to do is right now it's reading these headers improperly. So let me redo that. There we go. So now I've got my categories in there, just the way I want them. And I'll right click, select data, because I don't want to include the target, or the percentage. I just want my categories here to show. And now one thing I'm going to do with the donut chart is format the data series. And so the angle of the first slice is set to 270, because right now it's starting here. I want it to start here on the left side. So 270 starts me right here. So where this blue a blue chart starts from, this is where I want that starting point, so that blue line there. And so that's my starting point. So you can modify this donut hole size however you want it, however large or small you want. But the key thing at this point is just to make sure that we've got the right color set up. So let's say for the on target, I'm going to go to the fill option and select that bright green. That's fine. For the slightly under, let's use a lighter shade of green. For the well under, we can select let's say a yellow color. And for the remainder, this one, I just want it to be a light shade of gray. There we go. So now we've got those different categories populated. So now if I were to update my calculations here, my actuals, let's say I go back to 20,000 here. Now you'll see now it's showing me that it's well under. It shows that category, that this is all that I still have to make up for. before I reach that target. Go to 25,000. You know, we've got that in there. We've got 30,000. We've got that 45,000. Puts us into the green. If we get to 48,000, you know, we've got all the way into the dark green, into that last category. And if I get to 50,000 and hit our goal, then we're right at the end. If you want to get rid of this gap, here, you want to go to the fill option and then select no border, no line, and now it's a complete circle. So just like that, we've got a gauge set up. Now, the one thing you want to do at this point is get rid of this legend. We don't need that. You could also do is get rid of the header, because what I'm going to do is add a text box here. So I'm going to add a text box right here called sales. Bold, center it, make it nice and large. And I'm going to get rid of that line, just so there's no background, so it fits in nice and smooth. And the one thing you can also do is get rid of the fill color, so that way it's the white background is not overlapping with your chart. And another thing I'll do is insert another text box. Let's put it right down here. Again, no fill, no line item. And what I'm going to do is link it to that actual number. So now I've got a formula for that amount. Again, center, bold it. And so it's easy to stand out. So just like that, we've got our sales. And I could probably just align this a little bit better. But obviously at this point, we've got something that, you know, you could use as a gauge. So let's say we start at 10,000 again. You'll see my chart updates and my figure here updates as well. Change this to 25,000. That updates as well. 35. Right, so you can create as many categories obviously as you want here. The key thing is just making sure that you've got one group that or one category that fills in. I mean, you could potentially have an overlap depending on how you want to structure it, but if you want just the single color, then this is how you would do that. The key thing is creating the logic beforehand with the if statements just to make sure that you're not overlapping. Again, for the target amount, we looked at E3, so we looked at this percentage to say, okay, if that's greater than 90%, then take that value, otherwise it's 0. For the well under, we looked at if this is less than 75%, then take that value, otherwise 0. For the slightly under, we checked if either one of these were 0, then we knew that it fell into that slightly under category, in which case we would take that value of E3. And then for the remainder, we just took 100%, subtracted all these values just to make sure that it adds up to 100%. So that's how you can create some really easy gauge charts that you can use over and over. It can be effective for KPIs and that sort of thing, and easy to plot on your dashboard. And the really cool thing is adding in those text boxes. It makes it even more dynamic so that you can easily see the value. You don't have to go look somewhere else to see what that actually is. And so makes it easy to read for your boss, whoever's looking at it. And so that's how you can create some additional visuals to add to your dashboard.